Welcome back. So how was Washington?
Washington was awesome. And you know what? It was sunny all week long, which apparently is so crazy out there. I knew it rained, but the people are like, we haven't had a stretch of sunlight like this in forever. So we got real lucky with the weather.
Yeah, it's generally like kind of, I don't know, hazy. What is it there? Like it's really misty?
It's foggy because of all the water, and that actually would have helped made the shots a lot creepier. I mean, we got lucky with some cool sunsets and sunrises, but during the day it was just bright sunlight where some of that fog was standing around. That makes that story instantly creepier.
Well, I'm just glad to see you did not fall victim to the Pacific Northwest like so many others.
Me too.
33, 1, 0. Main event of the evening. Thursday and half past the hour.
It's Tuesday, and you're listening to Murder Unscripted.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Murder Unscripted, the podcast that aims to immerse you in the true crime genre like nobody else. I'm your host, Ed Hydock, along with my bestie, Melissa Spivey.
Hey, hey.
Melissa, it is a new month, which means new block, new theme, new guest, the works.
I'm kind of torn. I'm like excited about a new month, new block, new guest, and I am so excited to be done with that mayonnaise beanbag Gacy. But we had such a awesome January. Like we got to hang out with Edna and Dr. Smalden. I don't want it to end.
I mean, the serial killer, we talked so much about death just because of the nature of those stories that it was exhausting. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. It was an awesome month. Some great stuff came out of it, but man, I'm wiped. So I'm kind of glad to get back to the one-on-one.
I agree.
But I don't know. Time marches on, and now we're in February, and February is the month of love. And we've decided to get our inspiration from Cupid himself for a blog about love gone horribly wrong.
Oh yeah. And these cases we're going to cover over the next couple weeks are going to be all about people who, similar to Bundy and Gacy, are able to really lure people into relationships with them with like their smooth talking and just sleazy charm. And we've decided to name this block, ready? Fairy tale or romance fail. And as this is a true crime podcast, I'm going to spoil it by saying these cases are some of the worst romance fails, and they will probably convince you to spend Valentine's Day the way you should with the only men who will never let you down, Ben and Jerry.
Have you had their new chocolati love affair? It's the Tony Chocoloni, that
No?
chocolate company, chocolate
Yeah.
ice cream, salted caramel twists, and what is it? Sea salt chocolate chunks. So
That sounds amazing.
we have some crazy cases to cover this month. And guys, I am so excited about our special guest. I won't hold you in suspense because I am honored to tell you that our guest will be none other than Laura Cowan. And Laura went through some things that the majority of us will hopefully never ever experience because she was horrifically abused and held in captivity by her husband for 3 years, a man who she initially believed to be a good guy, a Prince Charming. And I don't know, it's perfect timing because Laura actually just was the subject of a Lifetime movie. She had her case turned into a Lifetime movie, just about the whole ordeal. And she is so excited about it.
Yeah, her story is wild. And if you really can't wait until we tell her story next week, and then when we talk to her the following week, you can check out the Lifetime movie entitled Girl in the Garage, the Laura Cowan story. I watched it, and my goodness, I'm like kind of horrified and yet so like in awe of Laura and her will to survive. Like what she went through is incredible.
Incredible is an understatement, and I just cannot wait
Mhm.
for you and our listeners to get to hear the story from Laura herself, and just how she used this horrific experience to inspire and encourage others. She's absolutely wonderful, so I cannot wait to have her on this month. But for today, we are going to talk about a woman who also thought she had found Mr. Wonderful.
Real quick, before I get into the case, I just have a quick request for our listeners. First, please take a second to rate, review, subscribe to Murder Unscripted. And second, if anyone has any cases that they would like to hear us cover, let us know. Shoot us an email, shoot us a DM. And you have our word that we promise we will try our very best to work your case into our lineup.
Did you just promise to try your very best? That's like negating the promise. I promise we'll try.
I mean, my very best is on point, so. And with that, let's jump into our case for today, which is about a woman who literally gave up her entire world, her entire life, her entire world to be with a man that she loved and who she thought loved her back. He said he loved her back. And as much as I would like to forget about John Wayne Gacy, the
Yeah,
universe
please.
is right. Well, I can't get away from him. The universe is clearly against me because our case today features Gacy's favorite snack, Kentucky Fried
You
Chicken.
gotta be kidding me.
I know. And as if KFC, if you thought the food itself was bad for you, just wait and see how the Colonel can get you convicted of murder. So let's put KFC on the back burner for a couple of minutes and let's talk about today's case. So it is the season of love. And thanks to Disney, I think a lot of little girls and maybe little boys grow up imagining meeting their Prince Charming and having their fairy tale wedding and of course living happily ever after. I dream of little animals in the forest coming to clean my house, but that's neither here nor there. Way more into that than a happily ever after. But our victim today, she thought she had met her Prince Charming, but unfortunately, she never got her happily ever after. It's Monday, April 17th, 2017. It's Easter Monday, and Russell Sloan is patrolling around this massive forest owned by the Weyerhaeuser Company in Alsea, Oregon. And I looked it up because I wasn't sure what this company did. So the Weyerhaeuser Company is a sustainable timber and wood product company. So they actually own over 2 million acres of forest between Washington and
Wow.
Oregon, right?
That's right where our shoot was last week, right?
We
Literally on
just
the
stopped
border.
by.
You crossed over a bridge and you were in one state and the other, right over the
That's
Columbia.
wild. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they have between the two states, they have so much land.
Wow.
And, this April day, it's a nice spring day. And our friend Russell, he actually lives in a camper on the property and he kind of acts as the caretaker. So he patrols the property and just, I guess, makes sure that no one's doing anything nefarious. And he makes his way down an old logging road and it's so desolate out here. And he comes to a dead end, and this road dead ends, and it's kind of up against a small clearing and then back to the heavy woods. And as Russell gets to the edge of the clearing, he sees something kind of near the tree line. He gets a little bit closer, and he is horrified. There, laying on the ground, is the body of a young woman. One of her hands is out to her side. The other hand is up by her head with her long blonde hair kind of tangled in her fingers. She had these big, beautiful, bluish green eyes. They were open and just staring straight up towards the sky.
Wow.
And she was fully clothed, had shoes, socks, a jacket, all that. But surrounding her body was all sorts of litter. There's candy bar wrappers and cigarette butts and beer bottles and fast food bags.
That's awful, can I just say, for a loved one to have to know that about, you know what I mean, their family
Yeah.
member who was literally
Mhm.
left amongst trash, like a piece of
Yeah.
trash. It's an awful way to be found.
That's so disrespectful. So poor Russell, he hoofs it out of there. And, we're in the middle of the wilderness, so there's no cell service, there's no houses nearby. So when he finally gets to a phone, he's able to call police. So the Benton County investigators get to the scene, and it's quickly determined that our victim is deceased. And they can tell she hasn't been dead for very long, which is kind of strange because, again, we're out in the middle of nowhere and nobody should be there. Investigators just aren't quite sure what the cause of her death was. They can tell that there's trauma to her head, but they can't tell if it was a blunt object that hurt her, or if she fell and hit her head on something.
Could have been a rock. Yeah.
Right. And, like, in the one show I watched, they're like, there's no cliffs nearby, she couldn't have fallen off there, so they're just kinda going through all the things that it could be.
Yeah.
So they start checking her body for identification, but the young woman doesn't have, like, anything, no paperwork, no license, no nothing to ID her, although she does have a tattoo on each wrist. So they do use that later to try to see if they can ID her. So, but at this point, like, police are like, we don't know who this is. We don't know how she got here. We're miles away from the nearest actual road, like, not just a logging road, but like a real road that people are on. So, whatever happened to this young woman, or I'm going to call her our Jane Doe, the police, they're like, this is suspicious as F.
Yeah, and having just gotten back from that part of the country, I can tell you it's as creepy as it sounds. I mean, your brother lives there. I'm sure he can tell you stories too, but
Yeah.
there are some places that are so far from actual civilization that it puts you on edge. We were at a site,
Mhm.
the perpetrator's house. It was a compound on the end of a desolate road, and I had no bars. So you are in literally another world, a scary world, and one you don't really want to be in.
Yeah, that always creeps me out. So, meanwhile, back at the Benton County Sheriff Department, police are talking to Russell, who found the body. They, bring him back to talk. And he tells them that just the day before, so it's Sunday, April 16th, which was Easter Sunday.
Also, my birthday. Just saying. I'm gonna be 45.
You're so geriatric. So, Russell had gone down this logging road on Easter Sunday because he wanted to make a phone call. And like I said, he didn't have great service at his camper or up, where he was patrolling. So he went down the logging road a little bit to get better reception, and he sees a dark SUV driving up this logging road. And he thinks this is really weird because it's the middle of nowhere and it's super strange to see a vehicle in this particular area. Russell tells police that at some point later that day, he actually heard a gunshot, but it was super muffled. And some of the property owned by this Weyerhaeuser company is used as like hunting and recreation areas.
Hopefully 2 different areas.
Yeah, that's kind of what I
Yeah.
was thinking. I was like reading about it and I was like,
It's right by the
that's
park, a gun
ho-
range. Yeah.
hopefully they're on opposite sides of each other. But it wasn't unusual to hear a gunshot every now and then, and, like, all of the sources made it very clear that had it not been for Russell just happened to go to that spot on that day, our Jane Doe might still not be found.
Wow. A lot of these cases, you need to be as lucky as you are good at investigating. I've heard that from many, many cops. They're like, right place, right time, you just find something
Mhm.
that came out of nowhere and it solved the entire case.
No, I totally agree. I think hard work and also just, like, luck is such a big part of
Mhm.
it sometimes.
Mhm.
So, back at the crime scene, police are bagging up and looking at all this potential evidence. Because remember, I said that there was all this litter around our Jane Doe. So that means they don't know, like, what's just trash, what is important, what is, what's going to help us solve this.
Mhm.
So, in one spot, there's a plastic bag that had trash in it. And there were like soda cups, some cans, some fast food packaging. And there was even a KFC receipt.
This is an insane run of I've never heard one brand be mentioned in so many cases in a row. I
We
can't take it
literally
anymore.
we could have made 1 month, like, KFC the theme.
God, unreal. No more.
I know. Okay, no more, I promise. Well, a little bit more in this episode, but then after
Okay,
that,
then no
we're
more.
moving on, like, maybe
Cut
Panera.
off. Yeah.
So, police have a feeling that this receipt is definitely important, especially when they look at the date, and it's only 3 days ago, Friday, April 14th, 2017. And, like, of course, the receipt has at least, like, the store address or at the very least, the store number. So, detectives end up going to this KFC, and they ask to see the security videos from that day in the drive-thru. And they even know, like, the exact time that they need to look at because that's printed on the receipt too, so, like, everything's right there. And this case is wild, but this part is probably the most wild. KFC's like, "Sure, here's our security footage." What?
A
The
working
footage was
security
there?
game.
it didn't get altered in some way. So anyway, they cue up the tape and they see two guys. They go to this time and they see two guys in a dark colored SUV, which is exactly how Russell described the car that he had seen. So detectives are watching the video and they notice that the two men must have paid separately because they see the KFC employee take cash and swipe a card. So they go ahead and pull up the transactions from the credit card. And the owner of the receipt, who, by the way, if you want to know what they ordered, it was the KFC $5 fill-up box.
That's the way to go, though. That's the best value for your money.
And you
They
got a
made the
chocolate
right
chip
move.
cookie. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good order. That's a
I
solid
have
order.
a picture of the receipt, so we'll throw it up on the screen.
Nice.
Well, the gentleman who purchased this, I'm sure it was a delicious $5 fill-up, his name was Kevin Thomas. But I'm going to actually hold you in suspense for a few minutes with Kevin because we're now about 24 hours after finding the body. So it's Tuesday, April 18th, 2017. And we already have someone to start with, which is great. And we also at this point have an autopsy. So the medical examiner found out that Jane Doe had massive trauma to her head, most likely caused by a shotgun blast, like execution style. So, this is most definitely a homicide, which they pretty much figured it was, but they needed to be 100% sure. But we still don't know who our victim is. And they do like attempts at fingerprinting, but she's not in the system.
Yeah, that tells me she'd never been convicted of a crime, or at least never had her prints processed.
Right.
It's simple as that, really.
So that doesn't help them either. So police go pick up Kevin. They bring him to the station. And they don't give him a whole lot of information about why he's there, but they do tell him they came across some trash and they ask if he had recently eaten at KFC. And Kevin's like, yeah, my friend Will and I, we meet there every Friday. We have KFC together. And, we kind of catch up on each other's lives. But Kevin goes on to say that, when they were done eating, they bagged up the trash and he had actually put it in the backseat of Will's car.
So Will's looking pretty guilty.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, investigators continue with their questions, but they kind of switch gears a little bit. And one of the questions they ask Kevin is if he owned any guns. And Kevin goes, yeah, I do. A shotgun.
Ooh.
However, he doesn't have it right now because he loaned it to his good buddy, Will Hargrove.
How convenient.
Oh, yeah. You see, Kevin knows that Will kind of has a lot going on right now and he's stressed, and Kevin figures that Will borrowed a shotgun to go, quote, blow off some steam, end quote, by target practice, I guess. So he goes on to mention that Will had been in the Marines. So, he knew all about guns. So police are like, so what exactly was Will stressed out about? And this is just where everything starts to kind of unravel. So KFC Kevin, he tells him that he's been upset with Will because of how Will is conducting himself in his romantic life. You see, Will is having an affair with a married woman named Michelle Chavez, and this affair has been going on for about 1.5 years. And Will, now this is where it gets crazier, Will is renting a room from Michelle in the home that Michelle shares with her husband and their 2 children.
What?
So police are like, let's bring in Will and Michelle for a little chit chat.
Oh, yeah, I need to know much more about this secret relationship. This just got juicy.
This case is going to blow your mind. Like, it just keeps bringing the hits and you're like, what? So Michelle and Will, they meet one night while Michelle's actually working as a taxi cab driver. She had just picked Will up. So he was either at a bar or he was working at a bar. Some of the sources said different things.
Maybe he was like a bouncer or something.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And police bring Will and Michelle in, and of course, they put them in separate interview rooms. And it's now April 19th, so we're 2 days after the body is found. Police are talking to Michelle and Will, and they're asking how long, the affair's been going on. Are they intimate, etc., etc. It's been going on a little over 1 year. Yes, they're intimate. And when they asked Michelle if they were exclusive, she's like, "Well, no, we can see or talk to other people." And, like, this is basically because she's married, so how's she gonna sit there and tell Will he can't see anyone?
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair at all now, would it?
That's what I'm saying. So, police put that line of questioning kind of on hold, and they asked Michelle if she and Will had hung out lately. And she kinda sighs and says, "Yeah," but, they had gotten in a pretty bad fight on Friday, and it kinda continued into Saturday. They ask her why, and she's like, "Because I still haven't left my husband," basically. And she keeps promising that she will, and, she tells everyone, at least Will, that she and her husband are more like roommates. Michelle had been promising to leave her husband and be with Will for several months now. And while that clearly had not happened, she gave Will kind of like a promise ring, but this promise ring was literally her wedding ring. So she gave another man her
What?
wedding ring to, like, air quotes, prove she was gonna leave her husband and be with him? I don't know, I feel like
No,
that's so damn weird.
and the husband didn't notice?
Right, that's why I'm like, "Didn't he ask where your ring was?" Like, what?
"Hey, where's your ring?"
Yeah. I was like, "This is very strange," but what do I know? Now, you and I, Ed, and now our listeners, we know all of this information about Michelle, Will, and the ring, but, the police don't know yet about the ring. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind.
Okay.
So as police are talking to Michelle, she's kind of making little snide side comments that are alluding to the possibility of Will having a girlfriend, which Michelle is clearly not cool with, even though she said they're not exclusive.
Real snarky about it.
Yeah, and it's like she won't come out and say it, but there were little, like, side snarky comments. So, police go back to the "Are you and Will exclusive" chat, and Michelle's like, "No, we're not, and actually he's been seeing someone, but I don't really know that much about her, and I don't even know her name. It's like Anya or something, but I don't really know."
She's so bitter. So salty.
So while Michelle's explaining this in one room, Will's in another room with other detectives, and he's explaining about his weekly KFC trip with Kevin, and then about his relationship with Michelle, and that things between them are complicated, which is like understatement of the millennium.
They're not complicated, they're making it complicated, Have the balls to leave.
They're both making it incredibly complicated. So now investigators are asking Will if he is seeing anyone besides Michelle, and he explains that he's been on a couple dates, but nothing serious. So this is when investigators kind of dropped the bomb that Michelle had mentioned there was a woman named Anya.
Oh, yeah, her.
Yeah. So before we get to this mysterious Anya, let's talk a little bit about Will. So in regard to his looks, I want you to imagine the love child of like a bridge troll and an ogre. So once
They're the
you have
same
that,
thing?
no, a bridge troll, is mean to the billy goats and won't let you across the
Oh.
bridge, and an ogre lives in a swamp. But if they met
Gotcha.
up, this, well, once you have that image in your head, let me
Okay.
introduce you to Will Hargrove. He is offensively unfortunate looking, and the man is like a shorter, more heinous version of Shrek if Shrek had a neck beard and was like the worst. However, and I'm bringing it back to John Wayne Gacy yet again, as foul as Will is, he could be very charming. He could talk the talk. Some of his friends were just talking about how funny how he was and how he always wanted to brighten someone else's day and how, he somehow managed to get people to like him. But the problem with Will, one of the several problems with Will,
Sounds like one of, yeah.
yeah, one of many, he's a liar and a sleazeball, but we're gonna get back to that in
No
a second.
surprise. No
Yeah.
surprise.
So Will is a trained mechanic, and I'm not sure though what his employment status is because A, he's renting a room from Michelle and her man. B, he's paying $300 a month for the room. And C, we will come to find out that Will has some serious money problems. I mean, clearly he's a catch. So, a catch and release. All right, so I just went over a ton. So let me just do like a quick overview. we have Michelle and we have Will. They're both being questioned at the sheriff's department. Michelle has just told us about a mysterious Anya, and we still have our unidentified Jane Doe. So Will's chatting with detectives. Oh, and I'm pretty sure Will and Michelle do not know that the other one is even there, like at the police station.
That's such a good technique, though, for detectives because you get the chance then to lock two very important people to the case into a story, and then they
Mhm.
don't have the chance to talk and kind of compare notes. It's like these are the stories that are going on record now, so they better be true or they better have their story straight.
Exactly. So investigators are talking with Will and they say something like, "So, we heard about someone named, is it Anya?" And Will's like, "Oh, Anna." And he goes, Anna, Anya. It's really weird. But they ask him, "Can you tell us about her?" And Will's like, "Yeah, I just randomly met this woman and he was somewhere downtown. They bumped into each other. They started chatting. They hit it off. But you know what? That's pretty much it." So while this is happening, another set of detectives go have a little chat with Michelle's husband. Yeah. And I don't know if they mentioned anything about the affair. Honestly, I don't think that they did. But they do ask the husband if he knows a woman who is linked to Will named Anna. And Michelle's husband is like, "Oh my God, yeah, Anna, that's Will's girl." Like,
Right. Like no
no
big deal.
big. Exactly. And he goes, "Oh, she's from Russia. Oh, and here's her Facebook."
Man.
So he brings up her Facebook, and detectives are talking to his husband. Like, they take a picture of the Facebook account, they send it back to the detectives at the police station, and they look at the
Boom.
picture and they're like, "Holy crap, this is our Jane Doe."
Wow. Cool.
So before we get to Jane Doe, let's go back to Will. Detectives are still asking him about Anna. He's not trying to give them much information. So detectives decide to turn up the heat a little bit because they know he knows Anna. And they point blank ask Will, "What do you know about Anna?" And again, his actual response is, quote, "almost nothing," end quote. He doesn't even know her last name. She does have a heavy accent though, so, maybe she's from like Ukraine.
Hmm.
And detectives kind of continue to press him about his relationship with her. And he opens up a little bit more each time and he tells them that, well, okay, he had met her and they'd gone on 2 dates, but then Anna turned, quote, psychotic. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure she's the one that turned
she's the
psychotic.
one,
Yeah.
exactly. And after those 2 dates, she told everyone that she and Will were engaged, and Will has no idea why she would do that, but it got him into so much trouble. And investigators are like, "Well, who did it get you in trouble with?" And he goes, "Michelle." So Will goes on to tell investigators that another reason he decided not to hang out with her anymore was that Anna was violent, short-tempered, and destructive, and all this bullshit. And that's why he broke things off with her. But again, Will's still trying to play like he doesn't know what's going on with her and he hasn't seen her in a couple weeks. So, I don't know what to tell you.
Hmm.
So we're going to switch gears again. I know you're getting whiplash from going back and forth, but I want to talk about our Jane Doe because now we know who she is. She is 27-year-old Anna Repkina, and police begin looking into Anna and they discover that she only recently moved to the United States, like less than 2 months prior to her death. According to a Facebook post by the Benton County Sheriff's Department, Anna was born on September 24th, 1989, in Moscow, Russia. She had a ton of friends and she's really close with her family. And I believe that was made up of her father, her mother, and she had a brother named Anton. And Anna really loved to travel. She just seemed to love life. She loved traveling. She wanted to see the world. She loved cats. She loved music. She really loved going to concerts. And apparently she loved flowers. Like it didn't matter the color or the kind or whatever, but she just loved fresh flowers.
That's cool.
And Anna was incredibly intelligent. Like, girlfriend had 2 degrees, so you know she's a smart cookie.
Wow.
So, some of her friends that she had made in the United States prior to her death, they said, she was so kind, she was very soft-spoken, but she was outspoken, which I think is a cool way to describe someone, and I just think people who can kind of do both of those at once, that's a skill I wish I had, because I don't.
I wish I wish you had that too. But
I know, right?
regarding Hannah,
Maybe just to be soft-spoken, though.
yeah, that
But
part you'll never ever have. Wow. Anna,
never.
as far as Anna though, I think she was just it sounded like she was just looking for love, like looking to live out that American dream and find a man who will love her and she can love back.
100%. And so, looks wise, if you're looking at Anna, I think she looks very similar to the actress Kristen Bell. She
Oh
was
yeah.
like on Veronica Mars and Saving Sarah Marshall, and oh, she was the voice of Elsa in Frozen.
Unfrozen, yeah. She
No,
was.
not Elsa, the other one. I don't know.
Anna,
Not
which
Anna.
is ironic.
That's
Isn't that
so
ironic?
weird. Yeah. Oh, and back in Russia, Anna has a really well-paying, lucrative office position at IKEA. So
Mm.
investigators are kind of like, why the heck had she given all this up to come to the United States and then be murdered only weeks after arriving?
For love, of course.
Yep. For a man who made promise after promise to give her the world. He lured Anna away from her family, her friends, her job, her entire life, her country, everything by promising this beautiful happily ever after. And we know already it's not going to end like that.
It rarely does.
Yep. So I want to go back to 2016. Anna is in Russia, and at some point that year, she ends a very long term, I think it was like 7-year relationship with a man in Russia. And I don't know how or why they broke up. I don't know who broke up with who. I have no idea. But I think that when it happened, Anna was kind of like, well, what the hell do I do now? I need a fresh start. And I get that. Although I feel like usually after a breakup, girls like dye their hair or get bangs rather than move to a new country. But Anna wanted more, so you know what? More power to you. Anna had to figure something out, and you know what? She knew she wanted to be a wife, and she knew she definitely wanted to be a mother, so she decided to join a few online dating sites. She really wanted and she was absolutely ready for her happily ever after. So in October of 2016, on one of these dating sites, Anna Repkina meets the human hemorrhoid himself, Will Hargrove. So Will actually spoke Russian. I don't really know why. He did claim he had served for the US military in Russia.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he was not in the military.
Nope. And I mean, I did warn you that he's an ugly ass liar. But let's also point out the fact that the United States has never had been like, you can't be stationed in Russia. There's no base there
Yeah,
for the
that's like why.
US. So Google search maybe next time, Will. But I mean, this
Could
guy
work.
is crap. He's absolutely pawn scum, especially when he's committing stolen valor. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty low. But anyway, Anna and Will, they begin chatting online and, they start talking about their shared interest in music. They would send each other funny memes and like funny cat pics, which I just love.
It's like us.
I know, right? Like all day, it's just meme after meme. According to Anna's mother, they would actually video chat quite frequently. So they were essentially in a very long distance relationship. Will even sent texts talking about proposing to Anna. He would send
Wow.
her flowers like all the way from Oregon to Russia. And just some of the texts that he would send were, I think, a little overboard, but I could understand getting caught up in it. But remember, back in April of 17, Will is sitting in the interrogation room telling detectives that he barely knew this woman and she's crazy.
That's classic narcissism.
Mm-hmm. So in December of 16, Anna and Will had been talking for a couple months, so she decides to fly to Portland to meet Will. They had decided to spend Christmas together as well as ringing in 2017 together. So Anna pays for her ticket to fly to the United States. even though Will's apparently making all kinds of money and, he's going to take care of her. But
Yeah, right.
anyway, Anna books and pays for her flight. And finally, on December 20th, 2016, she lands in Portland, Oregon. So Will's there to pick her up and all is well. And he takes her back to his place.
His wait, his place. What in the Jerry Springer is going on here? That you mean the place that he shares with he's renting from Michelle and her 2 kids.
And the husband. Yeah.
Is he nuts?
So he's renting a room from his girlfriend and her husband with their kids, and he brings his new
And
girlfriend.
brings
Yes.
his girlfriend over. Yeah. Got this'll go. This'll
Yeah.
end well.
Oh, of course. I'm sure there'll be no problems. And while Anna's there, they're having a great time. And I assume Michelle is just sitting at home, like seething, probably pulling petals off a flower, being like, he
Right.
loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. And again, Will and Anna are living it up. They're having a blast. They're going on romantic dates. They're going on hikes and strolls on the beach. And Will's introducing Anna to his friends. And like on one of the shows I watched, some of these friends are on there talking about how he treated Anna like a princess.
I'm sure he
People
did.
knew they're gonna be together. They're gonna get married. Like this wasn't a secret. They were very obviously a couple. And multiple people were just like, they look so happy together. And there's tons of pictures online that also show both of them with huge smiles on their faces and they're just like enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me guess. I'll bet you money that he is the whole time filling her head with this like fairy tale, like we're gonna be together forever. You're never gonna have to work a day in your life. Blah blah blah. Like all the usual.
Oh, absolutely. Like all of that. She can move to the United States. She doesn't have to work.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take care of her. They're going to have babies, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And at the end of this I think it was a 10-day visit, Will proposes to Anna with, honestly, it was a beautiful engagement ring. Anna, of course, says yes to the proposal. And when it comes time to leave Will to return to Russia, they decide, she's going to go begin planning the wedding while she's there. And then in a few months, she's going to leave her entire life behind and move to Oregon to be with Will Hargrove, the man that she loves. So in the first few days of January 2017, she heads home to Russia and Will is back to kind of sort of seeing Michelle, kind of sort of maybe. And I don't think at this point Michelle is aware of the engagement, although it's not going to take long for her to find out.
Hmm.
But in the meantime, she's telling Will that Anna is never allowed back in her home. She doesn't care, but hold on, she doesn't care if Will sees other women because again, Michelle's married,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, there's that.
but he's not allowed to see Anna.
A lot of
So
rules for somebody married.
riddle me that.
Hmm.
So from now on, we're going to discuss Anna's short time in the United States before she was found murdered and alone on that sad, desolate logging road. So on March 1st, 2017, Anna would return to the United States to live there permanently with Will. And she's so ready and eager to begin her once upon a time fairy tale life with Will. And while Anna had been back in Russia, she'd been planning the wedding like the whole time. She even got a beautiful wedding dress that she had brought to the United States with her. Like,
It's so sad.
I know, it's so sad. This case sucks. Like, they all suck, but like, this one is so just, there's nobody wins here. But don't forget, she is banned from Michelle's house, so she and Will need a place to live, even though Anna doesn't know she's banned, nor does she even know that Michelle doesn't like her. So Anna and Will get a small apartment together because, they're a happily engaged couple. And Anna had posted on Facebook about her engagement, and she even posted a picture of this beautiful ring that Will had given her. And it was like this ring, it wasn't a traditional like diamond engagement ring like we're used to seeing, but it was stunning nonetheless. It was like this deep green emerald between two small diamonds. And
Pretty.
Anna absolutely, I like that. I like non-traditional. I think that's so cool. But Anna absolutely loved this ring, especially after Will told her what sentimental value it held. It had been his grandmother's.
Wow. I'm
tells
sure.
her. Uh-huh. So, things are going well for the couple, and they even set a date to get married. They're going to get married on the beach on March 25th, 2017. And Anna is really happy at first. But soon enough, things are not going so well because remember, Will is still seeing Michelle, so he's like splitting his time between both women.
That's got to be exhausting, like running out of ways to hide these multiple relationships. And
Mhm.
not to mention, poor Anna isn't from there. So she doesn't know anyone except for Will or his people.
Exactly. He would go
Hmm.
to Michelle's, he would leave Anna all alone in this apartment, and she wouldn't even be able to reach him. Like, he would turn his phone off.
Well,
She would have to
sure.
call his friends and be like, "Hey, have you seen Will?"
It's awful.
And I do believe that this is when Anna began kind of seeing through Will's charming facade. It's like she had made it past like the candy coating, but instead of like a sweet treat, there was like a moldy chunk of poo inside.
That's how I feel about Tootsie Pops.
Yeah, you're totally
Saying
right. Will Hargrove is the Tootsie Pop of
the one
candy.
that's like you
Yes.
found under the fridge, just all
Oh,
sticky and covered in
and
hair.
he'd be the orange one. The
No one
orange
likes
one
the
was
orange one.
gross. Exactly. So Anna begins to question Will's commitment and loyalty to her, which I totally get why. And she's just really getting this bad feeling that, maybe something's going on between Michelle and Will. But we've already discussed this. Will is a smooth talker and a liar. And he tells Anna that, okay, you know what? Yeah, he and Michelle had kind of dated like a little bit a while ago, but she's crazy. She is so crazy.
Funny because didn't he say the exact same thing to police about Anna?
Ah, PSA to our listeners. If someone you are seeing is constantly referring to their exes as crazy, step back and let's figure out the common denominator here, shall we?
Not wrong.
Well, anyway, unfortunately, Will is able to smooth things over and he sleazes his way back into Anna's good graces. However, it's not that easy to placate Michelle. Especially because, like, at this point, Michelle is really not having a good time. She's pissed about Anna, she's pissed at Will, and she's really pissed that Anna is back, supposedly for good, to get married to Will, and Michelle is not going to allow Anna to take her man. Her
Huh?
second man, question
Yeah, the
mark?
other man.
Yeah. Well, Michelle is about to be really pissed when she decides to friend request Anna on Facebook. Okay, creep. And of course, Anna accepts her because she's Will's friend and former
Right.
landlady, after all.
She has no idea.
Right. So once Michelle's officially Facebook friends with Anna, she's able to do some Facebook creeping, which we're all a little guilty of.
Did some today.
If y'all thought Michelle was pissed before, woof. She is even more pissed when she sees that Anna is posting pictures about her and Will being engaged.
Yeah, you
And
think?
then Michelle sees this stunning emerald ring, the one that I told you about that belongs to Will's grandmother.
Yeah.
Michelle is seething because she recognizes that ring and
Oh
she
my god.
knows it's not from Will's grandmother.
No, it's from her jewelry box.
It's her
Oh
ring.
my god.
So hold on,
What a
back up.
sleazeball.
Will had given Anna Michelle's wedding band that she had given to Will as a promise that she would leave her husband.
I can't with this story.
This is that meme with like Charlie Day when he's like
Yeah.
looks maniacal
Or
and he's got like the red string.
yeah, that's forget who he was chasing. Some serial.
Yeah. Well, that's this case all over. But like, how thick is that? And like, what is he
Wow.
thinking? Like, you're gonna be
Yeah.
able to get away with sharing this ring? What?
What an idiot.
Oh my god, this guy is so dumb.
Ugh.
So on March 22nd, Michelle has officially had it with everything, and she sends a really nasty Facebook message to Anna saying, like, here's some ground rules if we're going to share Will. And Anna reads this message, and remember, she's been told that Michelle is just
Yes.
this crazy bitch who can't move
Angry.
on
Yep.
from Will. Right. So Anna writes her back and she's like, you need to leave us the hell alone. You are crazy. We don't want you in our lives.
Wow.
And they're going back and forth. And she eventually says something to Michelle, like, stop being such a bitch. Her response to this message was, quote, I'm just getting started at being one, end quote. So Anna and Will, they're not going to let Michelle ruin their wedding day, which, don't forget, March 25th, the messages happen on March 22nd, so we're just a couple days away from the wedding. And, it's going to be this lovely, intimate beach setting with just a few friends and someone to officiate the nuptials. And the big day comes, and the lovebirds are heading to the ceremony when Will goes, oh, you know what? We need wedding bands. Let me stop at Walmart and get some of them fancy wedding bands.
And grab some motor oil and a rotisserie chicken while
We are not here to judge people who buy their laundry detergent and their tires where they get their rings, Ed. Anyway, there's security footage of Will at the jewelry counter at Walmart, and you can see he's in the video, he's like talking on his cell phone. Oh, we find out later he's chit-chatting with Michelle. Well,
Of course
his
he is.
bride-to-be is sitting in the car in the Walmart parking lot while he's buying her a wedding band.
This guy legit had 24/7, like, managing 2 relationships on and off.
Yep. And he was
Unbelievable.
real
Like,
shitty at it, clearly.
yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. So while he's talking to Michelle on the phone at Walmart, they're discussing their relationship and making plans to possibly meet up that night,
Oh my god.
after his wedding on the
Yeah,
beach
after the
to
wedding and all.
Anna. So Will buys the rings, and just an FYI, it was with Anna's money. But anyway,
Mm.
he and Anna, they drive out to the beach where they're waiting for the officiant to get there and to declare them husband and wife. And they wait and they wait, but the officiant never shows up.
The imaginary one? Yeah.
Guess what? In addition to there being no officiant, there wasn't even
Mhm.
a marriage license. Like,
I'm
Will is
not
straight up,
surprised.
right? Like, he is just straight up playing make believe with everything for this wedding. And after he makes his phone calls, which, by the way, apparently when he's making these phone calls, he's on the phone with like a GameStop store, probably checking to see if like the new version of The Sims out. It's my favorite.
It's actually really fun.
It's so fun. Will tells everyone, he gets off the phone and he tells everyone, oh man, that damn officiant, he got the day wrong. Crazy, something came up. Oh my God.
She had to be crushed.
Dude, just imagine, like, poor Anna standing there in her wedding dress. Like, she's
It's
so
terrible.
excited to marry the man of her dreams. Like, I can't even imagine how she felt. Like, she
He
had
was in so deep that he
so
just kept,
deep.
like,
He's such a shitbag. And, like, she had planned this day. And, like, I'm so sure she had, like, dreamt about this day her whole life, planning this fairy tale wedding.
Mhm.
And on the way home from their non-wedding, they stop at McDonald's. And this part is so heartbreaking. There's a picture of them at the drive-thru, and it's really blurry, and it's essentially like pointing down at the car, so it's blurry, but you can kind of see through their windshield.
Mhm.
This is the only picture of Anna in her wedding dress. All right, so now let's get back to Michelle for a little bit and what role she may or may not have played in this murder. And to be clear, Michelle Chavez was never charged with anything, but at this point, Michelle gives Will an ultimatum. It's her or it's me. And I'm going to be honest, while I don't particularly care for Michelle, I don't honestly think that she gave that ultimatum with the intention that she wanted Anna dead.
No, she wanted her out of the picture, though. That's for sure.
100%. But,
Not dead.
right, not dead, but out of the picture. Although, The big issue I have with her is her anger is wildly misplaced. Like, Anna didn't do shit to Michelle.
Right.
Will betrayed Michelle. Will lied to Michelle. Will played Michelle like a fiddle.
And he did the same to Anna, though.
Well, exactly, but, like, why is Michelle hating Anna? Like, that's
I
so
know.
I know, women hate women. I know, I get it. So, supposedly, Will chose Michelle, and the two of them agree that by April 19th, Will would break things off with Anna, and Michelle would break things off with her husband. So in that 48 hours interview, the host asked Michelle about, more texts that she and Will are sending regarding this ultimatum. And the interviewer says, quote, "There are texts between the two of you with you pressuring him to choose. And at one point, you told him to fix it. What did you mean by that?" End quote.
Fair question.
Right. And Michelle responds with, quote, "In the general sense, fix it in the sense that you would take care of it, not take care of it like take somebody out. You would end the relationship, that you would be done." End quote.
Also a fair answer.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
like, this case is tough for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this episode, I told you how Michelle had confessed to investigators that she and Will were fighting the weekend prior to Anna's body being found, like that Friday into Saturday. And this fight was because the human hemorrhoid lied yet again. And he's telling Michelle that he totally broke things off with Anna. But, oh my God, she just keeps showing up and she keeps talking to me and I just can't get rid of her.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Yeah, she's crazy, of course. So they're fighting, and then on Saturday, April 15th, Will Hargrove would send the following text message to Michelle Chavez. Quote, "I will have this permanently fixed by 1800 tomorrow." End quote. Which we know means he's saying that by 6 p.m. on Easter Sunday, Anna will, air quotes, Anna's situation will be handled.
I also love that he said he was in the military. He believed it so much he's using military time.
I know. All right, I'll give you 1 point, Will.
Yeah.
Not great that you said you were stationed in a country that there's no station, but you got the military
You
time.
got the
All right.
time right.
He probably doesn't even know what 1800 is,
No,
though.
it just sounds good. I see it 1800.
1800, yeah. Well, no surprise, Michelle can't let anything go, even though, he says, like, it'll be taken care of by 6 tomorrow. She just can't let it go. And she starts blowing up Will's phone, which is now off. And she's leaving like this super drama voicemail. She's crying and saying shit like, "Oh, I guess you made your decision." Wah, wah, wah. And while Michelle is having this meltdown, Will is dealing with other issues. And they don't include Anna. Do you remember the TLC song No Scrubs?
What kind of question is that? That's right in my college wheel. I may be old, but of
You
course I
are.
remember No Scrubs.
All right. Well, seriously, Will is the epitome of the scrub that they're talking about. Like, the line where TLC is like hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride. That is Will, because even though, he's so financially well off, he tells
Yeah.
Anna she never has to work again. He couldn't even afford to pay his car insurance.
Oh my God. That checks out.
Yeah. And that apparently meant that his car would be, I guess, repoed because that would make them take away the loan for the car. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. I pay my car insurance, so I don't know about these problems. I often let my registration lapse, but that's another
That's
story.
different problem for another day.
Yes. So Will had, I think he had until like midnight on April 16th or 11:59, I guess, on April 16th to pay what he owed. So now it's April 16th, Easter Sunday. Michelle still hasn't heard from Will, but, she has her meltdown. Then she goes to her family's Easter celebration and she's there and she's just pouting and crying and woe is me and Will doesn't love me. But then her phone rings and it's Will. So Michelle can immediately tell though, like something is wrong. And Will asks her to come meet him. So, of course, she completely ditches her family's Easter thing. She's like, bye, y'all. Peace out on this egg hunt.
See ya.
And she goes to meet Will, where he explains that he and Anna, they got in a terrible fight, and he said some really shitty things to her, and she packed her stuff and left. Well, of course, Michelle is thrilled. And
Yeah.
then, because these two are a class act, Michelle and Will have sex in his car.
Of course they do. Different kind of egg hunt.
Ooh, but I'm bummed. So, shortly after this, Michelle returns back to the Easter fun with the fam. And it's crazy, but when she gets back, her somber, pouty mood is replaced by all smiles, happy fun Michelle. So, what does Will do now that Anna has supposedly left and Michelle is back with her family? What is a guy to do? Well, he makes a few stops, including one to an ATM machine where he withdraws a pretty significant amount of money.
Where'd you get that from? I thought he was broke.
Oh, Will, he is broke, but Anna is not broke.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, so after he steals money from Anna's bank account, he tells like anyone who will listen, like the cashier at this like gas station where the ATM was, that he and Anna just broke up and she left him, and his heart, which is
This
probably
guy.
filled with cholesterol, is also broken, and he's so upset. Poor Will. So he handles this pain by hitting yet another ATM and taking more of Anna's money. And guess who now has enough money to pay his car insurance? Will. Oh, and in addition to paying his car insurance, Will also spends hundreds of dollars on candy, video games, and Legos.
Like, don't look at my Amazon cart then. If you think that's bad.
I mean, did you just commit a murder? Because to me,
No.
having my Lego fun time doesn't fit with committing a horrible homicide.
No. But I did
No.
just buy you can't find gobstoppers anymore anywhere, no matter where I look. So I bought
Dollar
them
store,
online.
bro.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, so I bought them online and a case showed up. I have a
Shut
case of
up.
it was one case of 24. So I have 24 boxes of gobstoppers I'm plowing through.
Save me all
So
the green ones. They're my favorite.
I'm not doing that, they're mine.
You're a bitch. So let's go back to where we started. It's April 17th, Easter Monday. Poor old Russell, he finds Anna's body. Russell is a lovely little gentleman, by the way. And that same day that he finds Anna's body, and that's the day we start talking to KFC Kev. So by the next day, April 18th, we still don't know who our Jane Doe is, but we're getting there. This is when we bring Michelle and Will in. And by April 19th, after several more interrogations with Will, Michelle, and KFC Kev, and at this point, Kevin and Michelle have both told police that on Friday, April 14th, Will had told both of them that Anna was gone and the drama was over. So in the show I referenced earlier, Calls from the Inside, the Benton County Assistant District Attorney is on. Her name is Amy Matusco. She's such a badass, but she has a few really great lines in this show, including one where she says, quote, "Everyone said she was gone, and we knew that she was, except she hadn't left on her own accord," end quote. Which is true. Yeah.
Producers, whoever interviewed her did their job hunting for those sound bites.
She's got some good ones. So at this point on April 19th, police know Will had something to do with Anna's murder. Will's just telling lie after lie. He's not even making sense at this point. And the police know that he's lying by now because they have his cell phone records. So these place Will in the vicinity of where Anna was found on that Sunday. So they know he had a relationship with Anna. They know he borrowed his buddy's shotgun.
Yeah, I mean those cell phone records will get you every time. Like not telling people how to commit a crime, but leave your phone at home.
Well, he did turn it off for a while. That's why like Michelle couldn't get a hold of him. But then he turned it back on to call Michelle to come meet him when they had sex in
And
his car.
and then it'll ping right there.
Mhm. So That same day, April 19th, 2017, just 3 days after Anna was killed and 2 days after her body was discovered, Will Hargrove is arrested for the murder of Anna Repkina. When police tell Michelle, because remember, she's in the other interrogation room, so when they tell her that Will has been arrested for the murder of Anna, her response is like the super uninspired, okay.
She knew the whole time. I mean, she had to have her suspicions, you know?
It's kind of funny, like, the police, like, call her out. They're like, "What do you mean, okay? Like,
Yeah.
aren't you upset about this?" She's like, "Well, yeah, I'm upset, but you gotta watch the show." So, what actually happened that Easter Sunday? Like, what happened to Anna? And unfortunately, we don't know the whole truth because there's 2 people who know the truth, and one of them
Yep.
can't tell us,
Fact.
and the other is a freaking liar. So, after the murder, when Will withdrew the money, he paid his car insurance, he buys his Legos, but then this human hemorrhoid, he gets on WhatsApp, right? This is after he kills Anna. He jumps on WhatsApp and he starts asking random people, okay, make sure you're sitting down. He starts messaging random people and asking them if they knew how to time travel.
Oh, if only. If only, buddy.
Well, it gets better because he claims that he is asking for a friend, aren't we all? And, his friend had made a big mistake and he needs to travel back in time to undo it.
This is amazing.
I know. And he writes, quote, I want to go back to April 16th, 2017 at 11:30 in the morning to stop the day from happening as it did. I want to convince myself we need to stay home so nothing bad happens. I want to go back to keep from losing the woman that should be my wife, end quote. He's like legitimately asking people for spells to time travel.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's so ridiculous. And our girl Amy, the assistant district attorney, she is at it again with her baller comments. Basically, she says like remorse is often the best evidence that you can get.
It's a fact.
And she's so right. Oh, wait,
Hmm?
wait, wait, wait. Do you want to know how Will is he's willing to pay for this time travel by offering up his soul?
No one wants your soul, bro. Seriously.
Nobody wants that rancid old thing. Gross. So I feel like the $1,000,000 question with this case is like if Will and Michelle were so in love and they were so serious about being together, like why did he start this relationship with Anna?
Because he's a dude. Because it's never enough, you know? You always want your what do they say? Each have your cake and eat it too?
I guess. I just feel like it was so unnecessary to bring Anna into this mix. According to the 48 Hours episode on the case, one of Will's friends is interviewed and she says, quote, I think that it had to do with jealousy. Michelle was going to leave her husband on her terms and it wasn't going fast enough. So if he, meaning Will, could make her jealous, then maybe it would speed things up, end quote.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's that complicated. I think maybe initially it was. Maybe that was the initial intent was to make her jealous, but I think he was also bored. You know, the
Yeah.
grass is greener, so he wanted a
Hmm.
side piece and he ended up falling in love. Or what he I guess thought was love.
Right.
And then he got in way over his head and just didn't want to lose either of them.
But what I don't get is like, why didn't you just legitimately be like, I don't like you, go back? Like,
It's an ego thing. He's a narcissist.
and it's just so sad. Like, here's Anna, who has fallen so completely in love with this man. She moves over 5,000 miles away from her family, her home,
Mhm.
her job, her life to a complete, not just down the street, but to a completely different country for this shitbag. And the whole time, she's just like a pawn to him. So on Wednesday, July 12th, 2017, Will Hargrove pleads not guilty to second-degree murder and theft charges. And these charges of theft were because of Will's broke ass stealing Anna's money after
Yep.
he had murdered her. So his trial begins in October of 19 and it lasts about a month. Anna's poor mother was there. She had flown in from Russia, and apparently, like, she couldn't look at the crime scene pictures. She just, like, looked at the floor and was
How could
crying, and
she? How
I
can you?
know, how can you?
A lot of family members will leave the courtroom when during that section and then come back. Someone will tell them it's over and then they'll come back.
So, during trial, Will's defense team tries to point the finger at Michelle, and like I mentioned earlier, I do think police at one point felt that Michelle may have had some involvement in the crime, but there just really wasn't enough evidence. It would, however, come out in trial that Michelle had been to the exact spot where Anna's body was found. Like, I read in one source that, like, a month prior to the murder, she claims that Will just happened to bring her there. But his
Hmm.
defense team, they like hypothesized that she was looking for a remote location to do away with her romantic rival.
Yeah, that sounds
But
more accurate.
I mean, I just don't know, because here's the other thing. Michelle's fingerprints and DNA are not on the shotgun that killed Anna. Only Will's are.
Yeah, there's no evidence. So it doesn't matter whether she was involved or not because you can't prove it.
You can't prove it. And remember how Will called Michelle on Easter Sunday? That call was made shortly after the murder, and like his phone pinged not far from the spot where Anna was found. So, Amy, again, she kicked major ass in this trial, and she actually puts a framed picture of Anna up on the witness stand so everyone can see her.
Man, that is such a tried and true technique. And it's so smart by prosecutors because seeing the victim in life and smiling, it's usually that one of the happiest pictures you can find. It just makes
Yes,
the jury becomes so sympathetic. It's a really smart move.
I agree. And like I had mentioned on the one show, there was actually a juror on, and I feel like that picture really, really affected her.
Yeah.
So when all is said and done, Will is ultimately charged with first-degree murder, along with identity theft, and then the 2 counts of, like, second-degree theft for stealing her money. So on Thursday, January 2nd, 2020, begins the sentencing part, like, the sentencing phase, and my girl Amy, she was not messing around, and one of the statements she made was, quote, and this is about Anna, clearly, quote, "She came here with hopes and dreams to find somebody that would love her and start a family. She doesn't have that anymore. The defendant very nearly got away with this crime. It was his own trash that betrayed him." End quote.
True.
I thought it's so true. So Will, the human hemorrhoid Hargrove, was sentenced to life in prison, but with the possibility of parole after 25 years. There was an added part of the sentence that was like about him getting credit for time served, but I mean, that sucks, but he should still at least be in there for over 20 years.
Yeah.
He has, though, at this point, he's appealed, and I'll come back to this in a minute. But after the trial was over, Michelle actually moved clear across the country, I think to somewhere in New York. She talked about this on the 48 Hours episode, but she claimed she just couldn't stay in Corvallis, Oregon or around there because she
Yeah.
essentially became a social pariah.
Of course.
Yeah. And she tells the 48 Hours host, she claims that in the summer of 2018, so this is prior to the trial, but she claims that she attempted to take her own life. And regardless of what she has or hasn't done, that is sad. And while I don't agree with her behavior or her ultimatum or her displaced anger, if she genuinely had nothing to do with it, like, she does not deserve the hate. This makes us no better than like the people we talk shit on in Block 3 about the wrongly
It's true.
suspected.
Absolutely true.
But you know what, though? When I say that she doesn't deserve the hate, I feel like the ironic part is that Anna didn't deserve Michelle's hate. Take with that what you will.
Hmm.
Oh, wait. Will has a pen pal page, y'all.
Oh man, write him.
It is so ridiculous. He's so disgusting. Oh my god. I was, like, reading it and I was just gagging.
Maybe that's who you should write instead of Gary Ridgway. You should start writing to Will.
Absolutely not. I would write to, like, BT no, I hate BTK. I can't write to Will's just so stupid. But to end Anna's story, because that's who this is about, she was cremated and her ashes were taken back to Russia. And again, my girl Amy, she had an amazing comment that I want to end on. And she said in the 48 Hours interview, quote, "I think you have to remember Anna as the sweet, loving, caring person who put herself out there to be loved. Because Anna was loved. She was loved alive and she was loved after." End quote. So that is the really tragic and just pointless murder, but it's the story of Anna Repkina, who was so full of love, just wanted to share that love, and she was just taken way too soon. And just a little PSA from me and Ed, especially in this Valentine's Day season. If you are in a similar situation, you need to remember your worth.
Absolutely. That's 100%
Mm-hmm.
true. Well, that was a great story. Not a love story by any means, but what
Mm-mm.
could have been and should have been
Right.
for Anna. So that really is a tragic one. I hate to see those because you're going to another country where you like know nothing. So you're literally entrusting your life to this person, and then they do the unthinkable. So we're curious to hear if any of our listeners, obviously nothing this extreme, but if you've been in a situation where you thought you found Mr. or Mrs. Right and it turned out to be anything but, we'd love to hear your stories. Or if you just want to comment about today's case and while you're at it, leave us a rating. You could subscribe, you can review. There's all the things that you can do. Speaking of things
So
that
many
spreading
things.
love, yeah. So, or if you have any case suggestions coming up, because we are doing something fun next month. We are
Yes.
going to dive into some listener cases. So now is your chance to get your cases in because we will most likely cover it next month. Anyway, Melissa, where can people send their all those things, the comments, the requests, and the stories?
All of the things. Send everything you got. So, several places. You can hit us up on our socials: Facebook, Insta, TikTok at Murder Unscripted. You can email us murderunscriptedpod@gmail.com. Or actually, you can even send us a note through our website, which is www.murderunscriptedpod.com. And with that, all we can tell you, especially around Valentine's Day, is be careful who you're meeting. Do some Google stalking if you have to. And always remember that perverts don't wear signs that say they're perverts.
What if they have pervert signs in Russia? They probably should.
They should probably have them in Oregon. Bye.